Joining us now is the legendary Mike Rowe. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time. I want to start with cut 444, and we'll take it from there. Play cut 444.
We'd been telling kids for 15 years to code. Learn to code, we said. Yeah, well, AI is coming for the coders. They're not coming for the welders. They're not coming for the plumbers. They're not coming for the steam fitters or the pipe fitters or the HVAC. They're not coming for the electricians. You know, that Ideas Festival I was telling you about in Aspen, I sat there and listened to Larry Fink say we need 500,000 electricians in the next couple of years. Not hyperbole. This is me being the alarmist again.
Mike, that clip went so viral. Thank you for saying that. Tell us more about where you said it and the significance of your push to rebuild blue-collar America. Mike Rowe.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, one of the craziest events I've ever attended, simply because of its import and I think the lack of coverage that it's gotten. This was the Energy and AI Summit convened in Pittsburgh a couple days ago by both sitting senators of that state. This was primarily David McCormick's event. He's the Republican, but John Fetterman was there, the Democrat, along with hundreds of people and 30 or 40 of the CEOs of the biggest companies in the country. And the president was there. I was on the stage with the president and 30 CEOs as they pledged $92 billion to create a bunch of jobs in the energy sector, specifically in Pennsylvania, for the purposes of building data centers, which are basically AI factories, as we know. And this was a big deal. And I mean, everybody was there. And I think I got invited to sort of remind the crowd that creating jobs is different than creating enthusiasm for jobs. And, you know, I'm kind of a Debbie Downer in a situation like that, because I think a lot of people still cling to this idea that the way to get people back to work is to create jobs or create more opportunity. But that kind of collapses under its own weight when you look at 7.6 million open jobs at the moment, including 500,000 open jobs in manufacturing. So in general, Charlie, my message was, look, I was rooting for Obama in 2009 when he promised 3 million shovel-ready jobs in his Highway Infrastructure Act. But I said at the time, very publicly, you're going to have a tough time selling 3 million shovel-ready jobs to a country that is not all that enthused about picking up a shovel. And I worry, too, today with this president, if he succeeds, and I'm rooting for him, too, I want to see reshoring. I want to see this reindustrialization in this country, this manufacturing renaissance. But he's going to create a couple million jobs if he pulls this off. And we're living in a world and in a moment where we got 500,000 jobs in manufacturing right now that we can't fill. So that's kind of why I was there in the only suit and tie that I actually own, testifying.
I was shocked to see you dressed like a banker, Mike Rowe. I wasn't even sure what to think of it. I said, what is he doing? Some sort of like a merger and acquisition deal? It was incredible. But Mike, look at that. Mike Rowe as a banker. I said, this is new.
The president looked at me and said, Mike Rowe, I didn't recognize you in that getup. And I said, well, Mr. President, you know, all my other suits are rubber, if it makes you feel any better.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 91 years of age, with my wife Shirley, who is 82. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, neither of us have any kind of sickness, and we're as flexible as we were 30 years ago, and we still do the physical things we did 30 years ago. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you. You won't believe it. Immuno 150 is an awesome nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it.
Yes, it really is incredible.
Yeah, try it. You will be surprised. Order online or call the number listed on the screen, but don't place your order until after you've watched the 2 videos on our website. Thank you from both of us, and God bless.
I love it. So I want to dive into this for a second. And Mike, you deserve such credit, and I cite you all the time. As you know, I am a outspoken critic of the current college model. I didn't go to college. I represent a lot of blue-collar workers who are fans of our show because I try to give a voice to that portion of the country. But part of the problem, and we call them the muscular class on the show, as you know, Mike, part of the problem are parents around the country would rather have their kid go into debt to study sociology at, Wellesley than to go work construction. Can you speak to that? Part of that needs to be a cultural change for specifically suburban America. If their son says, Mom, I want to be an electrician, they should applaud that. They should celebrate it. They should encourage it because they actually might have better character, a better financial balance sheet, less debt, and greater job opportunities than studying communications at University of Illinois. Mike Rowe.
Well, to be charitable about it, I'm sympathetic to parents who are desperately trying not to screw their kids up. There's no playbook for this, of course, and parents want to offer good advice. They don't want to mess it up. They're desperate for an instruction manual. But we fall into this cookie cutter world where, politicians in particular, but lots of other people too, speak very broadly and paint with a real broad brush. And so a lot of parents who really don't know any better have been told from the get-go that the best path for the most people is the most expensive path and that their kids are screwed if they don't take that path. Therefore, surprise, surprise, universities have been able to charge whatever they want, essentially, because the feds have opened up a bottomless pile of free money, and we have collectively encouraged a whole generation to borrow whatever it takes to fulfill their dreams. So it's not one person doing a really foolish thing. It's a lot of people standing by watching a lot of dumb things happen, including, and perhaps especially, the removal of shop class from high school. That really put us on a road, Charlie, a bad road. And, it didn't just impact the widening skills gap. It removed from view any optical proof that a regular kid could have that these muscular jobs exist. Walking from English to math class and sticking your head in the metal shop and seeing that image right there. At least you could get a look at something that resembled work. But we took it all out. We just arbitraged it right out of the whole process. And so parents were left with this idea that there was really only one path for their kid. And if their kid couldn't take that path, everything else, including that guy welding 2 pipes together, was some sort of vocational consolation prize. Well, the chickens have come home to roost. AI, as I said in that clip, is coming for the coders. It's not coming for that guy. That guy's job is secure, and he's making mid-6 figures, and that's the message.
Well, and this is
shout.
So yes, I love that. So I want to zero in on that because that's so important. So number one, I can speak from personal experience. I've never really been into crafts or shop, just not my focus or emphasis. But I went to school at Wheeling High School in the suburbs of Chicago, and we had a huge automotives and shop class. However, it was always treated as if those were kind of like the secondary kids. Like those are the kids that they're not in the AP classes, and they're not the ones that are going to be getting the good jobs. And it was kind of looked down upon. Again, it wasn't said, as audibly, but it was a vibe. It was definitely the perspective that we were given that, come on, you're going to, you're going to shop class. What you're kind of like beneath the surface. So that we need to change that. But I want to just, in the 3.5 minutes we have in this segment, because it's the most important thing, we could talk about the vibes and the cultural stuff forever. Can you go through the numbers, Mike Rowe? How many of these muscular jobs are going to be necessary? How many AI jobs are going to be lost? And how many job openings are there right now in America that pay a decent wage, that require a little bit of skill, a little bit of training, and a lot of hard work? What is the current economic number showing us?
I can tell you what I know. I don't have a crystal ball, obviously, so I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out. But in real time right now, we have 7.6 million open jobs, the vast majority of which do not require a 4-year degree. They require training. Within that cohort, we've got another 482,000 jobs that are open in manufacturing right now. I can't tell you definitively what they pay and what kind of path you're going to get on if you jump into that end of the pool, because state by state it varies. This is the thing, Charlie. It's a trap. You know, we want to be able to say this is what a welder makes. Well, you know, I've trained 2,500 welders. Many of them are making well into the 6 figures. I just talked to a guy the other day who came back from the Gulf of Oman, underwater welding, 300 grand a year tax-free. Okay. Now, there are also welders in this country making $55,000, $60,000 in Louisiana and Ohio. So it's difficult, right? But here's what gets lost. And here's what I'll leave you with, because I know you got to go to a break. People talk about welders and electricians and steam fitters and pipe fitters as workers, period. The vast majority of small businesses we have in this country were formed by men and women, but mostly men, who mastered a skill that was in demand and then went on to buy a couple of vans and hire their buddy, maybe a plumber, maybe a couple HVAC guys, maybe some electricians, and now they have a mechanical contracting company and they're doing a few $1,000,000 a year. Those stories need to be told as well, because even though that event I was just at, that was all about the macro economy. That was macro works. I'm micro works, right? And I don't want to lose sight of the individual. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that mastering a skill that's in demand can still take the right person with a modicum of entrepreneurial spirit and a little bit of ambition. It'll put that person on a road, and that road leads to some place that looks an awful lot like prosperity.
MikeRoweWorks.org. That is MikeRoweWorks.org. And thank you, Mike, for celebrating and, dare I say, giving the dignity that so many of these people deserve. They are looked down upon so often, and they're the ones that make the entire economy work. And as you say, Larry Fink says we need 500,000 new electricians. He's not saying that we need 500,000 new sociologists.
No, he's not.
That's not the contention.
Well, I want to agree with you. But make one other point vis-a-vis macro and micro. On a macro works level, you're 100% right. The country is not reeling or freaking out over a lack of sociologists or philosophers. But the individual message is and always will be a bit more nuanced. And you just reminded me of that line from Marco Rubio when he was running for office back in 2015, I guess it was. And he said, our country needs more welders and fewer philosophers. And of course, he's right, but he's not correct. What we need, I believe, on an individual level, are more welders who can talk intelligently about Nietzsche and Descartes, right? I mean, you didn't go to college, but you're educated, Charlie, and you're curious. And you've got a better liberal arts background than really most liberal arts students that I've ever met. But it's equally true as well that we'd be better off as a people with more philosophers who could run an even bead and have a conversation, right, about the muscular trades. Agree. So I don't want to be the guy who paints with too broad a brush, but I certainly agree with you. When you talk, when you hear from a billionaire like Larry Fink freaking out over 500,000 empty slots and electricians, you start to get it. And if you're me, not a week goes by where I don't hear from the American industrial base or the maritime base. They need 140,000 welders for our submarines. And the automotive industry, who needs 80,000 people in collision repair, and energy, who's 700,000. So, yeah, a memo has gone out. The C-suite are paying attention, and that's good news.
So in closing here, Mike, I know that you're doing a great job of this. How do the biggest impediment is the cultural one. How then do we overcome this kind of cultural gap where so many are still not, I know I asked the question previously, but let me rephrase it and reiterate it because it's very important. I'm going to ask you plainly, how then do we make parents comfortable with their kids entering into these trades? How do we make it socially and culturally acceptable?
A, it will take time. B, it's a multi-front war. There are a couple of things that I've seen work. Actually, I take that back. There's only one thing I've seen that actually moves the needle, both with parents, guidance counselors, which are also important, and of course the kids themselves, which is the most important cohort. And that is honest, authentic conversations with people who look like them and talk like them and who have mastered a skill that's in demand and who are prospering as a result. At MicroWorks, I spend most of my time now trying to find people that we assisted 5-6 years ago and then Zoom with them, just like we're doing right now, or meet with them in person and get their stories. What I said to the crowd in Pittsburgh was, look, guys, you just committed $92 billion with a B. I was in the room. I see what you're doing. For the love of God, carve off a fraction of a percentage of that and allocate it to tell the stories of the people in the industries you hope to reinvigorate. I will help you if I can. You know, we're modest by foundation levels, but I'll give away $5 million next month in work ethic scholarships. Give me some money so I can tell those stories from sea to shining sea, and the needle will move. So that's the short answer. The Evidence Demands a Verdict. That's a terrific book you would love. Josh McDowell wrote it years ago, but it applies now. The evidence is on our side. The proof is in the pudding. We simply have to tell it, and then parents will get it. But it will take time. I wish I could flip a switch. I can't.
MikeRoweWorks.org. Mike, come back anytime. You are doing phenomenal work. And
Thanks, Charlie. You too.
I think I'll get over seeing you in a suit. I think I'll get over it, but we'll see what happens.
I don't know, man. It's seared into my retina. I don't even know how to. You wouldn't believe I've got 200 emails from people who think I don't know, gone over to the dark side or something. It's funny.
Don't worry. He's not working for private equity, everybody. Don't worry. Mike, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Email us, he's the greatest, freedom@charliekirk.com. He has been so consistent for my entire life on this theme, and I really think that he is made for this moment. I really do. I think his voice is more important than ever. There are millions of young people, primarily young men, that are looking for purpose, and they don't know what to do other than just go get good grades. Go get good grades. And then they end up becoming, a lawyer, a consultant, and then maybe AI takes their job away. We're going to figure this out. Micro's a big piece of it.